Hello, and welcome to our video presentation on Maths Pathway. My name is Mark Ernst, a pre-service teacher at Christian Heritage College. Throughout the course of this video, we hope to give you a deeper understanding of what Maths Pathway is, demonstrate some of the unique features, and explain some aspects of the interface from the side of the teacher and the student. First of all, what is Maths Pathway? Maths Pathway is an online program accessed through a web browser which seeks to reimagine the way math is taught. In any maths classroom in Australia, there is likely to be a spread of student capability ranging from 6 to 8 years where they currently should be for their given year level. For example, in one Year 8 classroom, it is likely that there are students who are only able to do Year 3 maths, while others are able to tackle questions from Years 5 to 8, with even some students ready to explore Year 9 or 10 content. Maths Pathway enables a personalised learning experience to each of these students by providing specifically targeted modules from anywhere within the Year 1 to 10 maths curriculum. It achieves this by initially using an adaptive diagnostic tool to determine the competencies and gaps in the student's mathematical knowledge and then assigning modules in an optimal sequence to start filling in these gaps. This information is passed on to the teacher, who can accordingly assign the students modules to complete as seen fit. Teachers can then track the progress of their students and can provide scaffolding to them as they work towards mastering modules and tests which specifically address these gaps in mathematical knowledge. Modules are completed through a blend of explicit teaching in the form of mini lessons, accessing online learning resources, answering questions and manipulating interactive elements within the program, and by working in their exercise books. Maths Pathway is based on the learning required by the Australian curriculum and similarly divides mathematics into 3 strands: numbers and algebra, measurement and geometry, and statistics and probability. These are further divided into 12 substrands such as patterns in algebra, geometric reasoning, and chance. Collectively, Maths Pathway captures the entire 1 to 10 maths curriculum using 77 key concepts. Each key concept is again divided into modules. There are typically between 3 and 10 modules per key concept. For example, the right angle triangle key concept found under the Pythagoras and trigonometry substrand has 7 different modules. There are 2 distinctly different interfaces of Maths Pathway. There is the teacher and admin interface and the student interface. First, we will look at the student interface. The student interface is where they will access the diagnostic tool, access content and online learning support, complete modules, and view their effort, growth, and accuracy. The modules are accessed through the learning map. The learning map is populated by 77 segmented gems, each gem symbolizing one of the previously mentioned key concepts. Individual modules are accessed by clicking on one of the facets of a segmented gem. Each segment is color-coded to reflect student progress with respect to that module. Blue indicates a module which is ready to work on. Green indicates that a student has completed the module. Once completed, the student can elect to add it to the next test that they sit. Yellow, a student has sat the test on this module and achieved 100% accuracy, indicating mastery of the module. White or grey, the module needs to be unlocked through the mastery of another module, or the teacher has locked the student out of accessing this particular module. Once the student has mastered the modules corresponding to each segment of the shape, the student can then click Assemble. The student is presented with a small animation of the shape assembling. This animation gives the student a sense of achievement and indicates to them that they have mastered this concept. The modules are formatted with multiple questions and diagrams, similar to the average maths textbook. As students progress through a module, there are a number of resources available to them to help them understand the underlying principles and concepts if necessary. These resources are there to provide scaffolding to all students using Maths Pathway. Within the modules, students are able to immediately view the answers to the questions, view short videos further elaborating on the module, and even ask for help, in which Maths Pathway can suggest a class member who has already achieved mastery of this module. This is done to encourage teamwork and facilitate a deeper understanding of Vygotsky's idea of matching a knowledgeable other and a learner's zone of proximal development. Once a student has completed the module, the student can elect to have it on their next test. The test at the end of each 2-week learning cycle has an online component and a more traditional pen and paper based element printed from the teacher's Maths Pathway interface. Each student has a different test reflecting on the modules they have completed and elected for the test. Students will show their working out and answer all their questions on their test papers. The teacher then marks these papers and manually enters the results into the system in order for a student to see mastery of a concept on their learning maps. The teacher and admin interface is where all the data of the students is made accessible. The most notable difference between teacher and admin access is that teachers only have access to the classes that they teach, whereas admin have access to the data of all teachers and classes in the school across all of its campuses, and are able to aggregate data to monitor school-wide progress. Many of the options that can be selected on the home screen are also available through the menu bar. We will now step through a few of those just to show you how Maths Pathway is interfaced with by a teacher. Selecting classes, the teacher has the option to select which one of their classes they would like to examine. Here the teacher can see the progress of each student for their selected class. Selecting the data button for any of the students gives access to the progress over one test cycle. Here we are able to examine 3 important parameters used to gauge a student's progress. We briefly touched on these earlier. These are growth rate, effort, and accuracy. Growth rate is measured relative to the minimum expected mastery of 3 modules per fortnight, which are needed to complete 1 year's work within the time frame of a single year. A student that completes 3 modules in one test cycle would have a 100% growth rate, while students completing 4, 5, or 6 modules would respectively have growth rates of 133%, 166%, and 200%. If a student masters less than 3 modules per fortnight, they are falling behind and aren't meeting the mastery required to keep on track. Effort is measured relative to the number of modules assigned to a student for the given cycle and how many of those were completed. And lastly, accuracy reflects the percentage of questions the student answered correctly when sitting their tests. These are all important statistics which are used by teachers to follow the progress of their students. This data can be used to identify when a student is struggling with a specific concept. If a student has unsuccessfully attempted a problem in Maths Pathway too many times, or if a student completes a module significantly faster than the average completion time, the program flags this activity and encourages targeted intervention by alerting the teacher with an email. To continue with the navigation of the website, if you click on the Progress over Entire Year tab, it elaborates on the student's progress since the start of the year. Selecting the Learning Profile Data tab shows this grid providing a summary of the student's math knowledge. The grid reflects all the strands, substrands, and key concepts mentioned earlier. These are divided into rows representing each year level and columns representing the learning area. As you can see, like the learning map, these are also color-coded. First we have dark blue. This represents curriculum not yet diagnosed. Once this is diagnosed using the diagnostic tool, this could change to any of the following colors. Blue indicates curriculum which is not yet mastered. This has been diagnosed as a gap within the student's knowledge. The lines through yellow. The diagnostic tool has determined that the student has mastery of this section, and it doesn't need to be examined further. Gold. Content reflects modules the student has mastered in the current year by sitting the relevant test. Yellow indicates the mastery of learning which has been carried over from previous years of using Maths Pathway. By examining the learning profile data of the student, the teacher can inform their decision on what key concepts students can or should be working on. Given that students' tables will all look completely different, this table is a useful tool for teachers if they wish to ensure that students are completing the modules in a fashion that is most conducive to efficient learning. We hope that you have found this video informative. This concludes this section of the TED Ed. Please continue to the next part of the presentation.